Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you. So as mentioned in the email, we'll ask you some questions and then you can ask us some questions as well. And if there are any other external audience, they will also be able to ask you some questions. And this session will be recorded and uploaded online for voters to view. And you have nominated yourself for the role of welfare officer, is that right?
Yep.
Yep. So could you please introduce yourself, including your name, year of study, and what you're studying?
Sure. I'm Nicole Bloom. I'm in my second year of the undergraduate Bachelor of Psychology course.
Yep. Thanks for the short introduction. And our first question for you is, what makes you stand out from the other candidates?
I think what makes me stand out is that I'm an international student who spent time both living abroad and in the UK. So I think in that terms, if anyone was to come up to me with a concern, whether they're an international student or a home student, I'd be able to kind of relate to them. Because I think it's important to, if someone comes to you with concerns, you're able to relate to them on some level. I've also had mental health first aid training, and I've also had experience dealing with people who have concerns by being peer mentor, prefect, deputy head of sixth form, and as a sixth form representative for a year 9 group in my previous high school.
Yep. It seems like you've got some relevant experiences. And you've mentioned some plans in your manifesto, like in the first question. So what are some difficulties that may happen when you try to implement these plans, and how do you plan to solve them?
Sure. So one thing that I think I foresee happening that could, be a problem is trying to have other societies come in and collaborating with other societies, because I think it's really important that we collaborate with other societies, especially as it's a first time that the Psychology Society is coming back again. It's important to have those foundations. So definitely trying to get everyone involved and come to these events that we might hold with other societies to talk about, how welfare is concerned in terms of mental health. So there's like the Mental Health Society, you've got the LGBTQ Society. I think it'd be really good to get them on board and kind of talk to them as well. Also, I talked about having qualifications available. So, if people wanted to get trained in the active bystander training, or if they wanted to do something outside of the uni, like mental health first aid training, we could also get that sorted as well.
It sounds like you've thought about your plan like for some time and like ways to work around them. And just the second to last question, do you have anything else to share that's not already in your manifesto?
Yeah, definitely do. So one thing that I haven't mentioned in my manifesto is that I'm also really passionate about making sure that the society is a safe space for people with both seen and unseen disabilities, as I have epilepsy myself. That's an unseen disability. So making sure that any events we do hold, or anything that we do as a society is disabled friendly. Yeah.
Yep. And just last question, do you have any questions for us about the society, the elections, or the role itself?
No, I don't.
Okay. Yep. Thank you for joining this session. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you. So I'll just briefly talk about the structure of the call. So as mentioned in the email, we will ask you some questions. Then you can ask us some questions as well. And if there are any other external audience, they will be able to ask questions too. This session will be recorded and uploaded online for voters to view. And I believe you have nominated yourself for welfare officer. Is that right? Yep. So could you introduce yourself, including your name, year of study, and what you're studying?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Maanya. I am in 3rd year and I am studying bachelor's in psychology.
Yep. And the first question for you is, what makes you stand out from the other candidates?
I mean, As in my manifesto, I've already have a position as a welfare officer for another society called Delilah. So I already have first-hand experience with the training, with and I know what comes with the. And with that role, I was also one of the first members to create that society. So I learned hands-on how important the role is, and how to kind of bring in people and make sure that they're all comfortable with the society, especially when it's new. You really have to learn from the start how to set everything up.
Yep. And then, as mentioned, you've mentioned some plans in the first part of your manifesto. So what are some difficulties that you foresee might happen when you implement these plans? And how do you plan to solve these difficulties?
I think when it comes to big societies at UCL, I think we've seen before that a lot of people struggle to come out to talk about any issues that they're having within the society. They don't want to disappoint others. They don't want to feel embarrassed. And that's why I want to give the option to people that they can be anonymous. They don't have to say who they are. If they think there's an issue within the society, they don't need to give their name. If they want, we can find a way that on campus we can have a way that they can come and contact us, whether that be like a little letterbox, or that they can message me anonymously. If we can make that somehow available on our website, I would provide those options so that they still feel comfortable. And I would also make sure that it's not always them reaching out to me. For example, if it's in committee meetings or like socials, I'll make sure that I'm always going around checking up on people and reassuring them, letting them know who I am and telling them how they can contact me, so they don't have to feel like they have to come and search for me, because I know that for some people that can be a lot.
Yep. And second to last question, do you have anything else to share that's not already on your manifesto?
I mean, besides all the large amount of experience I have for this role, I think I'm always a energetic person who loves getting to know people. I'm quite an extrovert, so I just say that I'm fit for this role because I love talking to people, as silly as that sounds. So I think everybody hopefully would feel welcome when they come and talk to me, no matter what it's about regarding the society. And even just as a friend, I think welfare officers always put up to just be like people who come and look after, like make sure everybody's all right, signpost them, but also they should just be a friendly face within the society. Kind of like they kind of call it, all positions are fun, but I kind of call it the fun position, because we have this role where we get to like bring everyone together and find ways to make the society like a really nice safe space.
Yep. And the last question is, do you have any questions for us about the role, the society, or the elections in general?
No, I think I don't have any questions.
Yep. Thank you for joining this session.
Hello.
Hi. Yep. So it's just a rather casual conversation about like your manifesto and stuff like that. So as mentioned in the email, we'll ask you some questions, then you can ask us some questions as well. And if there are any external audience, they'll be able to ask questions too. So this session will be recorded and uploaded online for voters to view. You've nominated yourself for the role of welfare officer, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. And could you please introduce yourself, including your name, year of study, and what you're studying?
My name is Cheng. I'm studying psychology and language sciences at UCL, and I'm in second year now.
Yep. And then the first question for you is, what makes you stand out from the other candidates?
Well, I believe every candidates have their own interests and have their own qualities that are outstanding than others. However, I believe that as an international student myself, I have been an international student for 4 years now, and I understand the difficulties that come with being an international student. For example, living away from home, it's always quite daunting, especially for first years at UCL this year. I believe that with this experience at hand, I believe that I could be able to have the firsthand experience of the international students, as well as understand what's going on mentally in these international students' minds. So yeah, I feel like that would be a very good advantage to have.
Yep. And then in your manifesto, for the first section, you've mentioned some plans you plan to implement. And what are some difficulties that you foresee might happen when you try to implement these plans? And how do you try to solve these issues?
I believe that, so for in my manifesto, I have outlined that I want to organize like a kind of like a senior role to pre-existing students of UCL to be like their mentor for new freshers that come in. I believe the first issue that I might have with this is the numbers of the society, since it's a quite new society that stopped for I think 3 years and it has only like started up again now. I feel like with fewer members, then that might be an issue organizing big groups. So perhaps that might not work as well with smaller groups. Perhaps we might have to decrease the number of mentees. And yes, but other than that, I don't see an issue with how that plan might work.
And our second to last question is, do you have anything else to share that's not already on your manifesto?
I believe that a lot of things that I want to do in the society is mentioned in the manifesto. However, I do would like to tell everyone that's voting that if they have any questions that they want to like ask me, they could definitely like privately message me and I'll be happy to answer them. And as well as I believe that we'll have a great year at UCL. So hopefully, even though like this is online and can't like see you all and do actually have this presentation in person, that you can see what I would like to do here as the welfare officer of the UCL Psychology Society. So yeah.
Yep. And the last question for you is, do you have any questions for us about the role, about the society, or the elections?
Yes, I would actually like to ask if there's any other jobs that a welfare officer might have to do other than the things outlined in the description, because I know that the welfare officer has to complete a course before the start of uni.
Okay, so for our society, because we're not affiliated with the students' union, so there's no the course requirement, it doesn't exist. But I think in terms of your responsibilities, apart from offering like a safe space for the members to speak about their needs, you can also help with the events of marketing flexibly, because I think welfare officer is more like a role that can cover different branches in the society. So you can join in different branches as you like, as long as you discuss that with your future committee if elected.
All right.
So, yeah.
And also, how often will committee members meet up on average, do you think?
So again, because this will be discussed at the meeting after all the elections in the first round. So I can't tell you the frequency right now because that's something you have to discuss if elected. From what I observed in the past year, maybe meeting like once a month, but it also depends on whether there are events upcoming or whether there are other projects that are going soon, like going to happen soon. So yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yep. No worries. And thank you for joining this session. As mentioned in the email, we'll ask you some questions, then you can ask us some questions as well. And if there are any external audience, they will be able to ask questions too. The session will be recorded and uploaded for photos to view online. And you've nominated yourself for the role welfare officer. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. So could you please introduce yourself, including your name, year of study, and what you're studying?
Okay, so my name is Kiana Marfo. I'll be going into year 2 and I'm studying psychology.
Yep. And our first question for you is, what makes you stand out from the other candidates?
I think because of my experience, I've previously had in sixth form a student parliament welfare position, which basically just entailed like me checking on other students, especially after the pandemic, their mental health, any like queries that they had and just making sure that they were okay. I have worked just a little bit near the end of the year with the Cultured Minds Society within UCL, which basically just within certain cultures, there are like taboos of mental health. So just educating people that it's okay to be open about their mental health if they're included in cultures that make it seem as if it's a taboo or it shouldn't be spoken about in public. And then lastly, I was a peer mentor in sixth form. So again, it kind of coincided with the roles I had as a student parliament leader. So yeah, I think that's what makes me stand out my experience.
It sounds like you've got quite a few experiences around this role. And
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, because you outlined some plans in the first manifesto question, and what are some difficulties that you foresee might happen when you implement these plans? And how do you plan to solve these issues or difficulties?
I think one of the things I wanted to implement was a peer mentoring thing, because I saw that it worked successfully in school in helping people with their mental health and any queries that they had and they weren't able to speak to teachers and stuff like that. So there were students there that they could like speak to. I think one difficulty would be getting people to volunteer in the peer mentoring scheme. But I think just putting it out there that it's both beneficial for the peer mentor and the person that is being mentored, that you're both helping each other in a way that maybe teachers can't relate to the students. So it's a good way for us to relate on a relational level. So I think that's one way I would like overcome that difficulty, but I think it's important that we implement that.
Yeah. And second to the last question, do you have anything else to share that's not already on your manifesto?
No, I think everything is covered in my manifesto. Yeah.
Yep. And the last thing is, do you have any questions for us, like about the role, the elections, or the society in general?
Not necessarily, no.
Yep, that's okay too. And thank you for joining today's session.